again, it's about adding value
Yeah.
in so many ways, whether it's just in the email that you're sending, hey, I saw a trend report and thought you might be interested, or hey, I have new art, or when I email a pitch and I say I have new artwork, I also say I can do custom freelance work.
Today, I'm talking with Leah Keggi, the designer behind CoastL Studio, her modern beach lifestyle brand. She's also a marketing professional with over a decade of experience who shares her expertise through her Substack newsletter and workshops designed to help small and growing brands build marketing plans that actually work. So I'm really excited to dive in with Leah today and find out how she balances marketing and art because this is definitely something that artists struggle with. So welcome, Leah.
Thank you. Excited to talk marketing, of course.
Yes. So just to start, to kind of give us the broad strokes, can you give us an overview of how you came to design for products and where you are now with that?
Absolutely. So my background is in marketing. I've been doing that for a decade and I've always wanted to do my own business. I was like, "Oh, I'm going to sell products. I'm going to, way back in the 2018 was like, I'm going to get on Etsy and I'm going to have things. And I realized that wasn't tenable with my, current career track. And I wasn't quite sure what I was, really doing or what I really wanted to be making. So I sort of stumbled into the world of surface pattern design and art licensing around 2019 and really just fell head over heels for the idea of creating art and repeat patterns and being able to put it on all sorts of products, but also being, having the flexibility to kind of design for both myself and product and like let it all live, digitally and it was something that could work with, a career with my life and that's how I, kind of just stumbled into it. And of course, as with so many people, the pandemic just really accelerated that because I had all sorts of free time. Um, and it really, grew from there.
Love that. So as you just said, you balance a career, you have a full-time job in marketing with being a designer in your spare
Mhm.
time. So how's your day job informed the way that you approach marketing with your creative business?
For me, it's about prioritization. So I obviously know and understand the value of marketing, and I'm in a lot of it for work. So I can kind of, I have the ability to cross that over. I'm not spending time learning marketing, which I know is a challenge for a lot of folks. But it also, it helps keep me kind of aware of the world and the market and how things are changing and how buyers are acting because I work in wine and spirits.
Mm.
So it's very different, but also a lot of the same because people are spending money across different categories the same way. And when you hear, of what's going on in the world and tariffs affecting things, I know it's affecting a lot of folks in the art world.
Yeah.
It's also affecting a lot of folks in the wine and spirits world. So there's a lot of kind of opportunity for me to use that knowledge as I think about my business, not so much the art I'm drawing,
Right.
but kind of just to keep my finger on the pulse. And it helps me know when I'm talking to or sending out a pitch or talking to someone to be more sensitive to certain things. And that's all marketing. Like all marketing is sharing your story at the end of the day. And so I can just empathize with folks in a different way because I have all of this going on from 9 to 5.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, you bring up a great example of the tariffs and situation. And that's something that I've also tried to like I have a blog post about it for people who are interested, but obviously, like that is having a major effect on small businesses, large businesses, all the businesses is having a large
Hmm.
effect on. And so that's something that when I reach out to clients or when I'm pitching, I am saying, like, I know it's a tough time right now because of, budget constraints, because of different things. So that's a great example of ways that you can kind of build in
Hmm.
your knowledge and kind of just acknowledge what people are going through, right?
Yeah.
So was there a moment, maybe not a single moment, but when you realized that marketing your your designs was just as
Hmm.
important as your portfolio itself as you kind of try to grow that business?
Absolutely. Yeah. So one thing I didn't start as CoastL Studio. I think that's one thing that's kind of easy to kind of not talk about because you're like, I want to talk about now. I want to talk about what I'm doing. But realistically, like I didn't really, like I said, I didn't really know exactly what I was going to do. So I had this kind of amorphous like coffee break studio because I was doing it during my coffee breaks and during, in the morning and after work, and realized I had to get more specific in order to really
Mm,
get anywhere with marketing because, marketing, again, it's sharing your story and it's sharing why you're valuable to your customer. And for me initially, I didn't have a good reason for someone to follow me or to interact with me because I was drawing, I was doing art, but I wasn't kind of in a niche. Like I was very, I was just playing around. And that's everyone should play around. I think that
right,
that's
right. You got to
really
experiment.
important to getting to where you need to be. But I realized I was sitting here and I was like, I know this. Like, I'm not adding value in a way that makes somebody want to stick around on Instagram or reach out to me specifically for art.
Hmm. Interesting. Okay, well then I'm gonna jump around a little bit with my little my planned questions because let's talk about it. Let's talk
Yeah.
about niche. Because that's something that I do advise students is to at the very least find a product category to start with. Like getting started, it's a lot easier when you say I'm
Mhm.
focusing on wallpaper or I'm focusing on, whatever,
Right.
gift bags. But CoastL Studios is like a vacation state of mind. It's all about beachy things. How did you
Mhm.
land on that very specific niche?
For me, it was about what I really wanted to be drawing and doing. I've always loved the beach. I live nowhere near the beach, and I think that that's part of, why like I wanted to bring a little of that into my home and do it in a way that it wasn't, super obvious necessarily. Like I have a lot of geometric patterns that kind of lean coastal or lean beachy,
Mm,
but are not, gift shop in Florida
right, right.
patterns. But I realized I was like, this is what I want to be known for. And it allows me to do, create what I want to create. And then also be very specific about it. And so I think it's like, instead of being like, I want to do wallpaper and only wallpaper, I was like, I want to do and be known for coastal modern design. And I can get flexible within product category, but I have to be specific in at least one area.
Got you. So, how do you think that's, helped you focus? And the big question is because this is the kind of pushback I get all the time is like, do you ever get bored of it and just want to draw something that's totally off brand?
Yes. But
I was about to say, because every artist is like,
everyone. Well,
how do you
it's
stay focused?
it's that playing, right? It's like everyone loves the 80/20 rule for everything. So it's kind of that, I'd say more 90/10 when it comes to staying focused on coastal design, but like yes, I can, you know, I don't have to, not everything has to be a palm tree. I have yet to run out of ways to draw a palm tree though, so, you know,
Good for you.
there's opportunity. But I think it's okay to play a little, but it's also, what do you put forward, right? So I don't necessarily, I designed something for a friend who just had a baby, and it's not really on brand. It's just not on my, front page of my website or necessarily on, my Instagram grid, but you can still create. And I think it's good to kind of push boundaries because that's how you realize maybe you need to evolve. Or maybe you're in the right place and like, oh my goodness, I still can't draw people. We're not going to try to do that. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, that's totally fair. I think that's people always talk about signature style, and I don't feel like I really have one. And when I say that, people, especially since I come from like freelance and I do a lot of different things, and when I say that, people are kind of like, "Oh no, I can recognize some of your stuff and whatever." But I'm like, "Yeah, that's because everything I put on my Instagram and everything that I put on
mhm.
my website is very like colorful, bright, bold, whatever." But if you see my whole portfolio, you would see I have stuff that's like watercolory or like much
Hmm.
more, I don't know, modern farmhouse or whatever. And it's like it doesn't really fit in my brand, but like I'm still putting it in my portfolio in case someone needs it. You never know. So,
Right. Exactly.
yeah, that you make a good point about what you're actually presenting to the world. Um, so your work has been licensed for products at Target.com and even featured on the Today Show, which I want to hear a
Hmm.
little more about. But as you got started as a designer, what did you do to make some of those connections that led to some of those successes? Because it is hard, obviously, it's hard to make those connections.
Absolutely. Those both of those were through my work with Deny Designs, which is Society Six's wholesale arm, which was, I think, a couple years ago, a lot bigger. They're still doing some great stuff, but I think
Hmm.
that there's just to acknowledge, like there's a lot of things that shift over time
For sure.
with partners. I was just really annoying. Like that sounds really, kind of simplified, but I I did outreach to them directly. I sent them things in the mail.
Mm,
I think a lot of people don't want to do that.
that is a good one.
But it is effective. I did a couple, I think 2 years ago, I did a postcard campaign and I got a couple licensing opportunities out of it. I got some outreach in the not right nows, but opportunities to follow up. Um, Sending things in the mail is like a lot of people don't do it. And so
Because it's harder. It takes more time. But I have
it's,
that
yeah,
recommendation in Start Your Service Pattern business
yeah.
too. It's like do this thing because this is how you stand
Mhm.
out. Everyone's sending emails. Send some mail, man. I'm
Send
with
some
you.
mail, interact online. Like I was tagging photos, with things or saying like, how cool would this be on, this product? Or, not in an overwhelming way, but in a
Hmm.
like I was there's ways to go about it where you're like, get your community involved to say, how cool would it be? Oh yeah, you should,
Yeah.
like, oh, someone like I would love to work with XYZ person. Maybe your community can help with that. But I do think that like the follow-up and the multiple types of touch points is
Mm.
huge. And so many
Mm.
people, again, you're right, just send emails and you copy and paste your pitch email. Like, don't do that.
Mhm.
It's easy and I want to do it too. Everybody wants an easy button, but like being able to reach out and say, hey, I know things are hard because of tariffs, but I have this other value to provide you, or I have new work that's on trend, or I just saw a trend report. That I think things like that kind of, again, it's about adding value
Yeah.
in so many ways, whether it's just in the email that you're sending, hey, I saw a trend report and thought you might be interested, or hey, I have new art and I can, or I can do freelance. I've offered that as part. I don't put it forward necessarily on everything that I do, but when I email a pitch and I say I have new artwork, I also say I can do custom freelance work.
Hmm.
I'm flexible on how you're like, on terms of things, not timing terms, but if you want to do percentages, I'm not going to say no. If you want to do flat fee, I'm not going to say no because I think that that's where, I can be flexible. Again, also I have a full-time job, so things are a little different for,
Hmm.
kind of what I need and how I need things, but I think that that's really how a lot
Yeah.
of the things that I've gotten have come to be, is just being kind of feeling a little annoying. Like if you're talking about it too much, your customer or end consumer probably is just hearing about it for the first
Exactly. I
time.
love that. Yes. So I was gonna, yeah, like reframe, not reframe, but like what you call like annoying, and it's what we all think, right? Like, oh my God,
Right.
I've sent
Yeah.
them so many, whatever, but like that's persistence, okay? And
Hmm.
first of all, and
Yes.
I have a student, Alyssa Walsh, and she had like a goal to work with a particular company, and she's like, the reason I'm gonna succeed is because I'm stubborn. She's like, they can't
Yeah.
out stubborn me. Like I'm just gonna like the persistence, the persistence. And if I'm
Yes.
not mistaken, I think she has worked with them now.
Yeah.
But I remember her
Okay.
saying this a couple
Also,
years
shout
ago.
out. shout out to Alyssa because we're friends on Instagram
Oh,
too.
awesome. Yes,
So,
she's the best, right? So I love that like takeaway from talking with her.
yes.
In fact, yeah, I have it on my YouTube channel if anyone wants to look up Alyssa and talk. She talks about, yeah, basically being stubborn. That was like such a
Mhm.
great way to put it. But it's the persistence and
Hmm.
the thing that, yeah, I've definitely learned about marketing, which I've been able to adopt that I know a lot of people can't, is that when you feel like I'm talking about it too much, it's because you're the one it's you're not paying
Hmm.
attention to everything. Like you get emails from whatever Old Navy every day, and you only look at
Yes.
the ones that maybe have the something that appeals to you, like new dresses or something, and you're like, oh, I do need a dress for that event or whatever it is.
Hmm.
So like people aren't paying attention to every single post and thing you do. So that's why you need to do a lot of them, and they'll catch the
Yep.
ones that hopefully they catch the ones that not just appeal to them, but also will market your stuff. So
Absolutely.
yeah, those are great takeaways. I love that. Um, so now here's a little question. Have there been marketing strategies you tried in your own business that didn't work? And how did you kind of
Yes.
pivot on that?
A couple. I think one thing would too, well, so I don't like TikTok. I cannot figure, like, I cannot get into TikTok.
Yeah.
So I'm not doing TikTok because
No
I'm one
dances with
person.
your
No,
with
nobody
your like,
needs to
here's
see.
my bag, here's my art.
Right.
Yeah.
I I can't
Yeah.
do it. I won't. I mean, like I just can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah.
And that's not to say I didn't try. I haven't, I have an account. I posted videos. I was trying to do like more process videos. My process isn't cute,
Yeah, yeah,
That's
neither is
also
mine.
part of the problem.
Mine
And it's
is
like,
the
oh,
undo key. That's my whole process.
I am always amazed when artists are putting these beautiful process videos up. I'm like,
Yeah,
no,
I
I just,
can't.
it doesn't, it's not how my brain works. So I've done a couple and I'm like, this doesn't, I don't like it. It doesn't feel good. Most people can tell if you're doing something that doesn't feel good, like it comes across in what you're doing. And then it's not, they're like, oh, this looks not like I saw something, it was like, be a little cringe because that's how you get out of your comfort zone. But like when you're feeling like cringy about it, then it's not gonna make sense. The
Yeah.
other thing I tried to do was an online trade show,
Mm,
and I didn't love it. It was 2022, so it was definitely kind of there was still like post-COVID
yeah.
things about it. It's just a lot of work. And like online, there's not as much engagement as in person. And in person,
Yeah.
it was like too expensive for me to feel like I was really going to get anything out of it. And again, too much kind of work. And I realized because I wanted to do it, I was like, oh, this means I've made it, right? Like you
Mhm.
put that in your head. And I was like, you know what? But it doesn't mean anything if I don't go to this trade show or if I don't repeat or continue to show up at trade shows if it's not really working for me.
Yeah.
Um, and I just, put my energy elsewhere, put it into pitching, into finding other ways to kind of get in front of companies. Um,
Yeah.
and that was like with things like direct mail or other, again, other kind of creative opportunities. That's how I'm going to spend my time.
Yeah,
Versus prepping
definitely.
for a trade show where if especially online, like people are clicking through so fast, who knows what they're seeing.
Yeah, exactly. I think, I mean, I'm sure it has, I get it. It was built
Hmm.
out of necessity.
Yes.
It was built out of necessity for COVID and everything like that. But
Hmm.
like the long form of that is, I don't know how, because there's nothing that replaces, face-to-face contact.
Right.
And from what I've heard from a few people who I know who have done these online situations is, it's like it's all about the meetings that you've made in advance anyways.
Hmm.
So it's not the same as someone potentially walking by your booth and seeing a display that like, ooh, that is actually the kind of art I do
Yeah.
need for this one project. Or you
Hmm.
being able to kind of engage them by kind of stepping in front of them and saying like, oh,
Right.
I love your whatever, let's talk, and just kind of
Yes.
sort of interrupting their flow. You can't
Hmm.
do that online in that same way. So,
No.
there's obviously some benefits to it, but it is definitely not the same thing. So I understand why that probably
Yeah.
didn't quite feel comfortable.
Hmm.
And yeah, the direct mail, I mean, I really do love that method as well. It is definitely
Hmm.
one that I push that I don't people don't really talk about it that much. And
Hmm.
it's something that I suggest people do even before they email. Though I have changed it, like in my course originally it was like do this first then do email, but I know a lot of people skip that step because or they get stuck on that step and then they don't email, and it's like, so okay, fine, email if you want, but also
Hmm.
really work towards this direct mail because it makes a
Right.
difference. Um it actually it makes an impression, a physical impression, so that's really
Absolutely.
awesome. uh,
Also, like if your people are like, oh, I don't know when to do this, send holiday cards.
oh,
Like
for sure.
everyone is getting, I mean, one, it's a huge licensing category. So if that's the art you want to get in front of people, great. But also, it feels like a little more organic to put out holiday cards. I handwrite notes in everyone I send. So, it's
Hmm.
like just part of the holiday cheer for me to do that. I did that last year. Um, and also it helps you keep in touch with current partners who aren't licensing new work yet too, which is nice. Because you can kind of wrap all of that into like current people who are going to care about this, and then also the people who, it's a little intimidating to send to.
Yeah, definitely. That is something that I've made a point to do always, basically. A sum to usually my list is like my actual clients, my actual licensing partners, and then, a few like
Hmm.
hopefuls, right?
Yeah.
And then in 2020, I switched to digital, but what I did to try to give it a little like hand thing is I handwrite my note, like on an
Hmm.
iPad or whatever, but
Yeah.
like handwritten versus just typed. And so that is kind of how I've moved forward. And honestly, I haven't switched back. This year, I do have it on my list to like basically in October, like start planning that because often I am
That's
not planning far enough ahead to actually get it printed and mailed and
hmm
whatever. So this year I'm hoping to
yeah.
go back to mail, but it is tricky because even my clients, I'm like, some of them are not always in the office and depending on
Hmm.
situations. But now most people are, at least some sort of hybrid situation. It
Right.
seems like we're almost all back to the office in some way. So I think
Hmm.
definitely now's the time. I love that.
Yeah.
So I've managed to get, I mean, I'm excited to talk to you. I mean, I've been
Yeah.
talking to you. I'm been excited to be talking to you
Yes.
because, I really have managed to get kind of into marketing. And like that is, I mean, Start Your Surface Pattern Business is in essence getting you set up to market yourself.
Hmm.
It's not about the art. I don't really in any format teach how to create the art. I teach some ways to make it better, to make it stronger, but I don't really teach how to make the art because marketing is such a whole for artists, right? They fall in love with the process, but no one gets into
Hmm.
this to be a marketer, which I fully understand. But I've
Hmm.
like sort of forced myself to dive into that.
Yeah.
Um, some of it I was forced into, right? When I first was transitioned from into a freelancer, I had been working
Hmm.
in-house and I was like basically like, oh, it's going to be an easy transition because I already have all the experience. But I had all the experience in the art side. I had no experience in the actually connecting with clients side. So
Right.
that was like forced. And then as I started selling courses, that part, it was like I was
Hmm.
interested, like how can I, kind of I don't know. How can
Yeah.
I market and get in front of people? And it's become really interesting to me. But many artists tell me, my students and people I talk to, that they're bad at marketing. They hate marketing. They don't. Why do you think creatives struggle with it so much?
I think they struggle with it for a couple of reasons. One, I think even if you're designing art really commercially minded, which you and I both do, it's still yours. Like it's still personal. So it's hard to put it out there and be like my things.
Hmm.
That's an emotional barrier for marketing. I think that a lot of people don't necessarily like think about when they're thinking about why it's hard. They're like, oh, it's hard because I don't have the education. It's like, well, it's hard because you're kind of asking someone to you're asking someone to tell you if your baby's cute, you
Hmm.
know?
Hmm. Hmm.
Even if you know that like that baby needs to go into the world.
Yeah.
Um, but secondly, I think that market like when artists think about marketing, they think about saying buy my stuff or buy
Hmm.
my art, pay me for things instead of thinking about marketing as sharing. Because
Hmm.
really, advertising is that buy my stuff piece. Sales, like pitching, is part of marketing, but it's also a sales activity. That's buy my stuff. But marketing itself is more about the why of your business, the why of your art, sharing your story, sharing what you're doing in a way that people want to be a part of it.
Hmm.
So if you separate marketing and sales, marketing suddenly becomes a lot easier. Um, and that's where, in corporate, marketing and sales are different departments. They usually report into one another or, roll up together, but they're separate. And so I
Hmm.
think one of the big hurdles that artists who are doing everything themselves are like, well, it's all me. So it's all marketing. And it's like, well, if you start with marketing, sales gets easier. I say as a marketing person, all of my sales counterparts are like, mm. But if you start by talking about your business and your why and all this stuff, it's like talking about your favorite Netflix show. If
Mm.
you told your friend, this is one of my favorite analogies for artists, if you told your friend all about a show that you were watching and then didn't tell them, and they were like, oh my God, I'm enthralled. Like, where can I watch this? And then you walk away,
Mm.
that's just rude, right? Like you're like, well, I want to watch this show, but now I don't know where to watch it. It's the same thing with your art. If you just talk about how cool your story is and how much, how what you do and what you like, then it's a lot easier to be like, oh, and here's where you can find it
Yes.
on Netflix, right?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
on my website. But if you're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
look at my artwork, isn't it pretty? Then you're setting yourself up for, emotional failure, really, if you think about it that way. So I think like I'm not a big like mindset person, but it is totally just a mindset shift for a
It
lot of
is. Yeah.
a lot of people and a lot of artists because you're told it's business and it is it's corporate-y because marketing is part of a kind of corporate structure, but it's not. It doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be so like
Formal.
rigid and
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah. And yes, I relate to all of that for sure. I think one of your point is or one point that stands out to me is what you just said about the Netflix thing is like that call to action, CTA,
Mm-hmm.
hot marketing buzzword. But that's
Right.
the one I catch artists on a lot. And when I'm looking at their websites, when I'm like, just giving them any sort of analysis, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but marketing is, expressing effectively, communicating what your services are, right?
Yeah.
And part of it is story and part of it is everything. But at the end of the day, you also need to show them how can they get involved. And that's that call to action that here's where you can find it. It's on Netflix. It's going to be, wherever it's going to be. It's on
Mhm.
Spoonflower. You can
Yes.
hire me to do, this service, etc. And that call to action is often missing, and it should
Hmm.
be included in pretty much everything you do. And again,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily now push this button and pay me. It,
Hmm.
you know, sign up for my newsletter or,
Yeah.
like this post or save this post or, comment
Yeah.
on what kind of beach designs you'd love to see or whatever it
Hmm.
is. It's just that interaction
Right.
and getting people involved in your
Hmm.
your story. So I love that.
Yeah.
So if you're an artist and you can only focus on one or two marketing channels, and
Hmm.
obviously this isn't just social media, maybe we could do like a rough list, but which
Hmm.
platforms or methods would you say would be like a must right now? We can't do them all. Like, and I get it because
Right.
people are like, oh my God, I can't. Yeah, TikTok, Instagram,
Yeah.
Pinterest, LinkedIn,
It's too much.
website, trade shows. We
Yeah.
just said pitching postcards. I'm just trying to think of
Hmm.
some others off the top of my head, like networking events, freelancer
Yeah.
sites, any other like platforms that I'm kind of like,
I mean, you can get down a social media rabbit hole. There's a million of them. I've seen like different like licensing platforms pop up. I know
oh yeah,
Patterned is
like
coming in. Like,
patterns
yeah,
or even
like
like pattern bank, like all the
yeah.
PODs, like, oh my gosh.
I mean, there's so many things. And I think that's where like people think it's hard because it's overwhelming when you're like, you've got to do all of this stuff. It's like you don't have to do all this stuff.
No,
So I'm gonna take a longer route to
do
answer
it.
your question. Okay,
We got
so
time. I got nowhere to be.
in and I'm like, I could do this all day. So in surface pattern design, you have two customers. You have buyers and you have people who are buying your art from those companies. And it's really easy to think about one or the other, but like if you don't have people who want to buy your art on products, then buyers aren't going to be interested in your art for their products.
Hmm.
So when you're marketing and you're talking about your story and those calls to action, there's two layers. You just need to decide what you're talking about. Some people only talk to buyers on in marketing, right? Pitching, trade shows. I would say LinkedIn, technically it's social media, but like
Professional social media.
professional
Yeah,
social
yeah.
media, so it doesn't sound as fun. Um, those things are talking to buyers. Things like Instagram, I mean, your website should kind of speak to both because you want to be sharing where you can buy products to help kind of that pull and make buyers feel like you're helping them sell because that's a value. Um, but I think to me, buyers are on Instagram. They're on, or not, sorry, art buyers are looking for art on Instagram. Final buyers, those products, customer versus consumer. So consumers are on Instagram. So I think Instagram is still extremely important.
Hmm.
There's, a lot of like, oh, well, TikTok, but I think that you get both on Instagram. So I would definitely say if you're going to do one form of social media, focus on Instagram.
Hmm.
If you hate it, don't do it. Or if you have an issue with
Right.
Meta, don't do it. I think that's like a big caveat too, where people are like, but Meta, like then TikTok maybe then that's the second best option. But and then I would say you want to be focused on a your I mark okay. I don't consider your website marketing because it's not continuously updating. A blog is. So a blog might make sense.
Hmm.
But pitching is still, I think, the second, like Instagram and pitching are the two best things you can do as long as and as long as you are doing them well. So like
And
pitching to
consistently.
people with consistent creative pitching via email to start, I think that and curated, like curate your pitch. Those two are the things that's like if you're only gonna do two things. But then after those two things, like then I mean, I think it's like do what is fun for you. Like if you like writing letters, I think sending letters is so much fun, then do that. If you like networking events and you're in a location that facilitates that, you should do that. Um, if you like, you know, I think of something kind of out of the box, but if you like
YouTube,
blogging,
a YouTube.
YouTube, if
Yeah.
you like, I mean, I think that YouTube is awesome if you're, here we are, right?
Hmm.
Like talking about education in any way, you can educate buyers on YouTube. Like you can talk about trends and your own art. It doesn't have to be for education, but
Right.
that's the kind of content people are looking for here.
Hmm.
So there's, it's just what you have time for, like realistically what you have time for, not like I'm so productive all the time. Like
Yeah.
this is my real life. This is how much time I have in a day to do things. Do what you have time for consistently. And it doesn't have to be you don't have to post on Instagram every day. I think
Right.
that's another one where people are like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
to post on Instagram every day and engage for 10 minutes before you're posting, 10 minutes after. I don't do that. I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
I schedule all of my social media for the most part in advance, except for stories. And those are, kind of chaotic at best. Um, but that's what I have time for. And I get a lot of, I get engagement on my post without having to get on and like comment on 10 reels before I post my thing. Because I think that that's another thing that like, if you have all the time in the world or your only job is Instagram, you have time for that.
Hmm.
But no one's only job is Instagram when
Yeah.
you're
And no
the
one wants,
artist,
I
the
mean,
business
well,
manager. No
yeah.
one, no one's
No one,
starting an art
no artist
business.
really wants that to be their only job. That's the
No.
thing. That's why this feels difficult for people because they want to be drawing or painting or
Yeah.
putting things into repeat or whatever it is. They don't want
Yeah.
to be a content creator. That's not what they signed up
No.
for. So, and I totally get it, right? Um, my YouTube videos are not, I'm never gonna be like I don't call myself a YouTuber, even though I've had a channel for 5 years and consistently put out YouTube videos because
Hmm.
they're not getting that much better. The content is good. The actual quality of them
And
are
that's,
only slightly increasing every, 8 months
yeah.
because that's not what it's about, right? Like
Hmm.
it's I'm have other priorities and that's
Yep.
okay. So it's
Hmm.
just I think it's yeah, what you have the capacity for and if you truly hate some of those things. I think those are two like those top two platforms are excellent. Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely agree. I yeah, I would say those are probably the best. I mean, and those are the ones that I focus on as well.
Hmm.
Pinterest is its own kind of thing. I do Pinterest. I am trying kind of to get a little more into Pinterest. Now, Pinterest isn't exactly social media, it's more like a search kind of thing.
Yes.
But there's definitely some benefits because it is like a visual medium. So there,
Right.
and it's a little bit longer, like Instagram comes and goes, right? Like if you're
Hmm.
searching, you do find Pinterest over an Instagram post, for example.
Yes. And Pinterest and Instagram now connect. So if you have not connected your Pinterest and Instagram accounts, like because
You can auto post,
you can
yeah.
auto post. I have a couple pins that do really well for me on Pinterest in terms of like impressions, views. Those are pushed over to my blog, which I'm not consistent about right now. I have it, it's not consistent. I will say too, you don't if you're not consistent on something, don't just delete it. Like leave it. If it's out there in the world and it looks good, you feel like it's a good representation of yourself, it's okay to leave it and just be like, I'm not doing this right now. It's still, people still find my website through Pinterest because of those pins and those blog posts that link to products I have on Spoonflower or affiliate links that I have for licensing collections, which is awesome. But Pinterest is hard because it's not a social media platform and people kind of lump it in, but it
Hmm.
is a visual search engine. But there's a lot of value there. I think it's a little slower.
It
You
is.
don't get, and like whatever, what Instagram has done well as a platform is you get that dopamine hit when people like your stuff.
Hmm.
You don't get that on Pinterest, which is not to say that's a bad thing. We probably all could use a little less quick dopamine hits from
Hmm.
social media, but um, I say as just having recommended social media for everyone,
No, look, I mean,
it's
it's a
it's a balance. It's all, it doesn't it's an and, not an or. Um, anyway, so Pinterest is great for getting found in that way. It's just slower, so a lot of people don't see value right away and then they give up on it. And that's where it's, a good secondary option or a good like, okay, I can connect and forget for now. You can always go back. I occasionally go back and like edit pin titles or add links to Instagram posts.
hmm.
That's the thing I do if I'm like waiting in line somewhere or sitting in an airport and I don't really have any, the ability to do anything else. You can kind of do those little like things
Little maintenance.
when you have time, and it's not going to be the end of the world if it doesn't happen.
I love that. All right, next question. And I get this question a lot. Actually, by the time this video comes out, I'll have released a video about it. So I'm very curious to hear what your opinion on this is. But how much time should an artist realistically spend on marketing versus creating their artwork? Because I get this a lot. It's like, well, how much should I be doing this? How much should I be pitching an Instagram versus like working on my portfolio?
Oh, that's so hard because I
I
think
know
it's
there is
it's
not
like
right
it
one right
depends
answer.
on the person. Like if I have an idea, I'm a pretty quick work. Like I can make it happen pretty quickly. If I'm like so for me it's like probably 50-50. But again, it's like I spend a lot of time thinking about art because I am not sitting down to do art 8 hours a day. So I like think a lot about my patterns before I make them. So it's faster for me to make them. Whereas I think if you're, you know, the more time you have, I think the more time you have for art.
Hmm.
Um, but I think you should be spending as much time as you need to get traction. So if you are seeing like if you have 10 hours in a week to do everything, like just because it's a round number, um, maybe you should spend 4 hours on business stuff. I'm not going to say just marketing. I think there's
Mm-hmm.
also, you've got to send invoices, you've got to have client, communication, probably at least 4 hours of that,
Yeah.
and then 6 hours for art because you do need to be creating new art. But I think that's so hard because it's so dependent on the person and the
I agree. I mean,
process.
definitely. My take is sort of like I kind of realized as because I was like literally researching this because I was like, well, there's got to be studies. I need to
Right.
know, and there's not studies, but yeah, like what I kind of realized was it really depends on what stage you're in, right? Like so
Hmm.
beginners, like real if you're really new to it, you probably do need to spend a little more time on art because you need to have the art to market and also you need to have the good art to market, right? But
Yes.
once you and even still I think you should be marketing when you're a beginner. I think you should
Right.
be showing off whatever. Basically it should never go below like 30%, but
Hmm.
when you're really trying to build it up as a business, that's when we get to the 50, even 60% marketing versus art creation. And then
Yeah.
hopefully, as you do get that traction, you can obviously systemize and kind of slow it down. But like,
Right.
I really do think that it just depends on kind of what stage you're in. So interesting
I
to get
think,
your take as well.
yeah, I think to that point, like it is so important to be like marketing commercially viable art. Like
Mm,
you can market, like you're saying at the beginning, if you're playing, you're testing, you're just sharing. And that's, that is marketing, but like I guess really it's that sale. When does it flip to sales? And that's when like you've got commercially viable art. Maybe it's because someone's already asked you how to get it, or you've started testing on, a POD site, and then you've gotten traction and you go, okay, people want this. But I think it is important to say like marketing and sales together work when you've got a product worth buying.
mm,
And that's not to dissuade anyone. It's just to say like that's part of the equation that I think a lot of people don't want to, not that they don't want to admit or talk about, but that they don't take into account.
right,
Um,
right. Yeah. Well, so then maybe you might have just spoiled the next question, but what's one mistake that you see artists make most often when they start trying to market themselves?
so I think it's being everywhere. Like that's the
Hmm.
biggest mistake. I think, like I said,
You
start
can
sharing
spread yourself
early.
so thin. Yeah.
And then nothing works. Like you're not going to get traction if you're not doing kind of enough to get seen on a platform.
Hmm.
That's why that's why I don't do TikTok, right? Like, yes, I could
Right.
figure it out. I have the ability to do so. Like, but it's going to spread me too thin. And so I'm not going to do it. But I think it's so easy, especially in a lot of places you hear you have to do all these things. You have to, be on
Hmm.
all these platforms. Oh, you have to get on Patterned. You have to get on Pattern Bank. You have to, anytime you hear have to, you need to like think about why they're saying that,
Mm.
like who's making,
Yeah.
who's who's saying that and why? Because sometimes it is like you have to be visible. That is totally reasonable to hear and say. But saying you have to be on a specific platform, there's, you kind of have to
No,
ask like
there's everyone
why.
has their own path for sure. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that's the biggest mistake is people jump in and they're like, oh, I've got to be doing everything. And they only have that 30% of the time really to do things because they really should be building out a portfolio or, pushing their art to a place where it is, commercially viable. And then they're burnt out because they're not seeing any traction on anything and they're, still frustrated that something isn't working the way they want it to with their art.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think yeah, I mean, it's the same with like streams of income, right? It's like I
Exactly.
say the same thing about that, where it's like, yeah, you get started and you're like, ooh, I love this. Now I want to make money from it. And it's like, pitching and trying to connect
Hmm.
with licensing companies is a really long game. It takes time. It's
Yeah.
even if you do make some connections, it's not that much money at first and whatever. So
Hmm.
people are like, okay, I'm going to do POD and then I'm going to get on Etsy and then I'm going to do local art fairs, and then I'm gonna, whatever, seven
And then
other
you're gonna burn
things.
out.
And then you're gonna burn out because there are people who are spending all their time. connecting with licensing. There are people who
Hmm.
are spending all their time building an Etsy shop, and like so, better to focus on one to
Right.
two than to try to do it all.
Hmm.
Um, all right, well, like I could be talking to you about this forever, clearly. But my last sort of question is what is like a simple marketing practice that you think every artist should implement like after this? Stop watching this video and go and implement.
I'm gonna I'm gonna tell you the thing, then you're gonna stop the video. No, yeah.
Fade to
Let me
black,
tell,
like the end of The
yes, right, exactly.
Sopranos.
Like I'm gonna mic drop and we're gonna walk away. No. Um, think about why you're doing it. Anything. It is anything related to your business. So if you are getting on Instagram to post your new piece of art, don't just say what it is. Flamingos. I'm guilty of this. And I have a degree.
Yeah.
Um, say why, right? Like talk about why it's important to you, to your customer. You know, this was, I'm gonna use an example. I just posted a reel because I took a very old piece of art. I think this was actually your
I saw
advice
this, yeah.
to go back to go back to your old art and reimagine it in your kind of newer style or just play with it. And I was like, this is like this art needed to, I wanted this art to change because I've grown and I wanted
Hmm.
to show that growth. And I didn't just say like, here's new art, right? And I was like, this is I went back and I looked at this and I said I can do this better. And that's important to me for people to see my growth as an artist. So that's why
Hmm.
I'm sharing it. But I didn't just say like new flamingos and then walk away. I
Hmm.
said like a little more why. Could it have been a little more detailed? Probably. But just starting with like, why am I doing something? Why am I posting it? Also, why am I like the streams of income? Why am I jumping into a stream of income? Is it because I feel like everyone else is doing it? Or
Is
is it
it
because
because
I
I
need
heard one person makes a lot of money doing it? Yes, that
exactly?
is always
Yes.
my reason.
Yeah,
I'm
and
like,
that's
no,
great.
don't do it, Liz. It's not going to
Right.
be you.
It's not worth it.
You're
Um,
not going to be
es-
the one to make $100,000 next month.
yes. And maybe you are, but you've got to go all in. So asking yourself why before you jump into something is super important because I think it's so easy to just, feel like you've got to do the next thing or you want to make this work. Licensing is a long game. Art as a business is a
The
long
long
game. It
game,
is
marketing
not,
is a long, all of these social media platforms. That's the
yeah.
thing. It's like, I think we don't give ourselves enough time to test and see how it goes, right? Like one
Hmm.
month is not enough time to say this didn't work, let's move on. I mean, I
Right.
guess there are a couple instances where that might be, but most things take 6 months, a year. A
Yes.
income stream takes 2 years, like really. But
Yes.
like, maybe a platform you could figure out in 6 months, or whether it's
Hmm.
working or not working, and for
Right.
you. But it takes time to figure that out.
Yeah.
So asking yourself why is a great way to start. I love
Yeah.
that.
So,
Um, Leah, this has been lovely. Yeah, I love to geek out about marketing, so I'm really glad that I was able to
mhm.
chat with you and definitely learn some things here. In the description, I'm going to put your information. You do have a
Mhm.
newsletter about
I,
marketing.
yeah. So I have a Substack. I have opinions about Substack that I think, anyway, it's fine. That's
That's another
DM me.
platform,
DM
right?
me if you have questions about Substack.
Oh yeah, I'm curious.
Um, but I do a Substack. It is more for consumer goods. So
If
art
you have a
galleries
product-based business,
pay. Um, but yeah, product-based business. But a lot of what I share is applicable to artists as well. Otherwise, Instagram at CoastL Studio. It's pronounced coastal, but again, DM me about naming your brand. Um,
love
so
it.
that's the best
So
place to
just
find
get
me.
in Leah's DMs,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. Come
So
hang
I
out.
will
I
put
want to talk
the
about this.
I'll put the links in there, and marketing is something that I've really loved as well. And I've got something new coming out with marketing. I'll put a link about the Marketing Momentum Lab in this video as well. So, yeah, don't neglect your marketing, people. It is a
Don't do it.
big part of your business. It is what can be the engine of your business. Your art is important, but your marketing is just as important. So,
Mhm.
thank you so much, Leah.
Yes, thank you.
Enjoying the content? Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more tips, tutorials, and interviews to level up your surface pattern design journey.